One, two, three, start. Up to a point, education goes to satisfy one of the basic needs of man. Illiteracy can be as serious a handicap as a physical disability. The state must endeavor to provide a certain minimum level of education to the entire population, just as it seeks to satisfy their requirements of food, clothing, shelter, and medical care. The spread of primary education should be treated as an end in itself rather than a means of economic betterment. But there is no doubt that the growth of literacy will contribute to economic progress by facilitating the understanding and absorption of new techniques and new approaches by the masses. However, as we move up a educational ladder from primary to middle to secondary, secondary to college to postgraduate courses, at each successive stage in the minds of the parents and indeed of the students themselves, the prospects of employment assume a growing importance in influencing their judgment about the level of education and the course of study. Presently, the Indian Institutes of Technology, the Institute of Management, and medical colleges rank high in the scale of preference of most of young men and women because each of these courses holds out bright earning prospects. Para but under tough competitive conditions, only a limited number can get admissions in these institutions. The remainder take up a degree course in arts or science in order to be eligible to apply for jobs for which a degree is prescribed as a minimum qualification. Most of them, after graduation, try for entry into one of the government service. Only a small percentage of degree holders are successful in the competitive examinations through which recruitment to the services is made. The rest try their luck in other spheres. Those who are unsuccessful face a bleak future. We have a growing surplus of the educated unemployed. At the same time, there is a growing evidence that in a wide variety of jobs, particularly but not exclusively in government, the functionaries seems to be ill equipped in terms of education and training to discharge their responsibilities. But the supply of personnel which our education system generates and the demands for manpower to meet our developmental needs, there is a wide divergence in qualitative terms of certain types. We continue to be short on other sectors. We have apparent surpluses. The education system of the country has been repeatedly criticized on the ground that it is still following a pattern which the British had created to their own purposes and needs. While with our commitment to development, our manpower requirements have undergone fundamental changes. However, it would be entirely unfair to blame the educationists for this state of affairs. They have been pleading for reform, but they are unable to get adequate support. Not that there has been no change or improvement. There have been many significant modifications in the pattern of education and in institutional framework which provides it. Technical education has gained an importance. We are able to boast that we have the third largest reservoir of technical and scientific manpower in the world. The introduction of 10 plus 2 system has also been a major reform, the full impact of which has not been adequately realized, even though more than 5 years have elapsed since the introduction of the system in all states and union territories. Stop.